Should you start claiming your Social Security benefit early at age 62 or wait until a later date to take a larger benefit? This is a great question, something that many retirees are thinking through when it comes to deciding when they should take their Social Security and how to best maximize what they'll be able to collect. In this video, I want to talk through one specific thought process and one exercise that you should think through for your situation, and it's around opportunity cost. And so in this video, we're talking about the concept between deciding should you take Social Security at age 62 to pay for your life, or alternately taking money from retirement savings to bridge the gap and then taking your Social Security at a later date, 67 or 70. For every dollar that we leave in the portfolio growing over time, will that make up for the larger Social Security benefit down the road? For example, at 62, we're taking less of a benefit, but we're taking it early, leaving more money in the portfolio, versus at 70, we're taking a much larger benefit, but we had drawn down some of that portfolio to bridge the gap into age 70. And so in this situation specifically, we're talking about if you knew that you would be using the Social Security to pay for living expenses. So you're utilizing it, you're not banking it, you're not saving it, it's getting spent to support your life. And alternately, the retirement account would also be getting spent to support your life as you waited for your Social Security benefit to accrue and grow. So let's jump into a calculator here and I'll run you through the specific levers and the way that you should be thinking about this for your specific situation and for your goals. So here we have a couple levers on the side that we can pull to adjust the scenario. We'll start at the top and we'll go, let's just say living costs are $6,000. We're going to say that the age is 62 and the benefit that this person, let's call him John, is able to receive is, we're going to go $4,000 a month. So what we see here initially is his Social Security benefit at age 67 would be able to support roughly 2/3 of his living expenses. And we can see that here in the middle. At 62, we expect he would be able to take roughly $2,800 for taking that benefit early. And at 67, if he waited, it would be almost $5,000. So now let's talk about John's retirement savings. And we're going to say, for example, he has $1 million in savings. Now, this is just a pile of money that is invested. We're not talking about account structures in this video or any sequencing. We're sort of looking at these numbers in a vacuum just to get a pure understanding of opportunity cost and how that plays a role in the choice of taking Social Security at what age. So growth rate plays a huge role. And initially, we're just going to say that John's investment assets are earning 10%. And we'll say he's going to live until age 95, or at least we're going to map this out to age 95. So in this scenario, at age 62, that's the blue line here, there would be roughly $2 million more in his account if he took his Social Security early and started using that to pay his living expenses instead of foregoing for a later date and paying all of his living expenses out of his investment portfolio. So what we're seeing is that it makes more sense for John in this scenario to leave money in the investment account, let it compound, let it grow, and use that benefit at 62, even though it will be less for the majority of his life. But because the money is growing so much, it makes sense for him to take it early and leave the money in the account, let it compound. But here is where the rubber meets the road. And if we adjust the growth rate, that's where the decision-making process becomes a little bit different. If John's money was invested and it was only growing at 6%, we start to get close to a crossover point here. And then the lines cross over roughly around 5.5% for John. So what that's saying is it would make more sense for John to draw down his investments and wait for his Social Security to accrue to close to $5,000 and then start taking it at 70. What this means is that the Social Security, the larger benefit, is more valuable to him than the assets in his retirement savings because they're only growing at 5.5%. And so that is really important when you're thinking about how your assets are structured, how they're invested, what the expected growth on them is versus other ways that you're going to get paid, one of them being Social Security. So let's keep going down the ladder here and see how the lines look. So if the money was only performing at 2.5, it makes even stronger point to draw down those assets first and then start taking your Social Security at age 70 and getting that larger benefit out into the end of life. All right, let's take this to the extreme and see what happens if the money isn't growing at all. It's sitting idly at 0%. This is really interesting. You can see now if you took your Social Security at 62, the $2,800 benefit covers a little less than half of your living expense. And so the other half is coming from the portfolio. And the portfolio draws down, you actually run out of money in between 85 and 90. Versus if you started drawing on the retirement savings and you forego your Social Security until age 70, then the money would actually last a lot longer. Because what's happening is you're drawing it down initially at $6,000 per year, but then the benefit is so much greater that it's able to extend the life of the money, even though the money is not growing at all. And so as you can see, the entire exercise in this case hinges on the growth rate. And that's exactly how you should think about the opportunity cost. What are you deciding to give up by foregoing taking Social Security? If the money that you would be pulling out of your retirement savings is to pay for your living expenses versus the money that you'd be getting from Social Security is also to pay for living expenses, what growth are you giving up by taking the money out of your retirement savings while waiting for a larger Social Security benefit? A lot of things go into the formula here, and the amount of retirement savings that you have does play a crucial role. In this case here with John, he still makes it to the end with a large amount of assets, right? We're talking either 15 or 17 million, right? But if your pile is a lot smaller, this starts to become a decision that really is make or break. If you don't take the money at 62 and you instead start drawing on your portfolio, if your portfolio, let's say, is only less than $500,000, what that does, it's still a $2 million difference, but it's the difference between close to $0 in your portfolio and close to $2 million in your portfolio. So the amount of money that you have saved does play a large factor, and that can make this decision extremely crucial. This is not an uncommon situation. A 62-year-old with $6,000 a month in living expenses, they are expecting to claim roughly $4,000 at age 67 versus the $2,800 at age 62. And they're left with a decision. They only have $450,000 in retirement savings set aside, and they don't know if it's enough. And so deciding when to take that benefit, and 10% would be a pretty aggressive growth rate. They might find themselves, closer to 5%. And so the difference between waiting and drawing in this case could be 10 years worth of runway on their retirement assets. For example, if they decided to wait until 70 to take a larger benefit, their assets are going to be gone by roughly 70. And then all they have left is the Social Security benefit. Whereas if they said, no, I'll take the smaller benefit up front and I'll let some of that money grow, even though it's growing minimally, they can make it until 80 in this scenario before that money runs out. And so the amount of weight that the Social Security benefit is carrying when in terms of living expenses plays a big role in your decision-making process here. And it makes this decision super, super important, as opposed to a situation where there's a lot more retirement assets. That's going to add a lot more flexibility to the plan. And when to take the money is not going to move the needle nearly as much in a situation like this if everything else was the same. So hopefully this was helpful. If you want to walk through a specific scenario, talk about your specific scenario, you can reach us at pasnaw.com. That's PASNAU. If we haven't met yet, my name is Ben Edmond. You can email me at ben@pasnawinvestments.com. I'll put the link to our website, and I'll also put my email address in the description below. And I'll see you in the next one.